It is time to keep you updated with what is happening globally. The news making the rounds at this hour says Afghanistan struck by another quake in days. Putin worried over civilian toll in Israel-Gaza war. Alleged damage to Finland, Estonia gas telecom link. Russia's United Nations Human Rights Council bid fails, and Israel intensifies Gaza offensive. Hamas attacks exposed. A 6.3 magnitude earthquake has hit western Afghanistan just days after a sequence of deadly quakes left over 2,400 people dead. The powerful earthquake struck an area near Herat, the capital of Herat province, early on Wednesday morning, according to local time. There was inadequate information about the immediate effects of the quake. The office of Herat's governor said there had been huge losses in the district near areas that had been flattened by earlier quakes. No fewer than 80 people have been wounded and a landslide has blocked the main Herat-Turhundi highway, report said, quoting Ministry of Information spokesperson Abdul Wahid Ryan. The newest earthquake comes as Afghans are reeling from a 6.3 magnitude quake and subsequent aftershocks that hit the region on Saturday. At least 2,445 people were killed and thousands more injured in the country's worst quakes in years, according to Taliban officials. Rescue workers and volunteers had been working around the clock to try to dig out survivors and bodies from the ruins of the flattened villages since the weekend. Relief efforts have been hampered by poor infrastructure in the impoverished country following decades of war and a decline in foreign aid. Now, Vladimir Putin, Russian president, has voiced worries at the catastrophic increase in the number of civilians killed in Israel and the Gaza Strip amid days of fighting between Hamas and the Israeli military. On Tuesday, the Russian leader also took aim at Washington's policy in the Middle East, which he said had failed by not taking the needs of Palestinians into account. Putin, whose military has been accused of killing thousands of civilians since its full-scale invasion of Ukraine last year, expressed his concern for civilians killed in Israel and Gaza during a phone call with Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Kremlin said in a statement. The emphasis was placed on the sharply worsening situation in the Israel-Palestinian conflict zone, the Kremlin leader said. Deep concern was expressed about the continuing escalation of the violence and catastrophic increase in the number of civilian casualties, the Kremlin said. The two leaders repeated the need for an immediate ceasefire and for the resumption of the negotiation process, the Kremlin added, saying that Erdogan noted it was regrettable to target civilian installations and that Turkey doesn't welcome such acts. Earlier on Tuesday, Putin called the creation of a Palestinian state necessary and blamed the latest explosion of violence on U.S. policy in the region. Putin said Washington had sought to monopolize efforts at forging peace between Israel and Palestinians, and he accused the U.S. of not bothering to seek compromises acceptable to both sides, but instead had pushed its own ideas for a solution to the conflict. The U.S. had ignored the interests of Palestinians, including their need for their own independent state. Putin made no mention of Russia's role in the Middle East peace process. Along with the U.S. and the United Nations and the European Union, Moscow has since 2002 formed part of a quartet of powers charged with helping to mediate Israeli-Palestinian peace talks. Putin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the Kremlin was in touch with both warring sides in Israel and Gaza and will seek to play a role in resolving the conflict. Peskov did not specify how that will be achieved. Finnish and Estonian officials said destruction to an undersea gas pipeline and telecommunications cable connecting Finland and Estonia appears to have been caused by external activity. On Tuesday, the Finnish government reported destroy to a gas line, pipeline and telecommunications cable with Estonia following an unusual drop in pressure on Sunday in the Balticconnector gas pipeline, which led to its shutdown. Finnish Prime Minister Petri Orpo said, according to reports, stopped short of calling the pipeline damage an act of sabotage, but said it could not have been caused by regular operations. According to a preliminary assessment, the observed damage could not have occurred as a result of normal use of the pipeline or pressure fluctuations. It is likely that the damage is the result of external activity, Orpo said. Finnish and Estonian authorities are working closely together to investigate the damage to undersea infrastructure. Finland is well prepared, our readiness is high and the situation is stable. Our security of supply is not threatened. Finland's National Bureau of Investigation was leading an inquiry into the leak, Orpo said. Finnish telecoms operator Elisa also confirmed on Tuesday that it suffered a break in a data cable connecting Finland and Estonia over the weekend. Asked according to reports whether Finland's government suspected Russian involvement in the latest incident, Orpo said he did not want to speculate on potential perpetrators before authorities completed the investigation in Finland. Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas said that Estonia and Finland had informed their allies in NATO and the European Union regarding the incident, and she was in contact with the Finnish leader on the next steps to be taken. The damaged cable and pipeline are in very different locations, although the timing of the incident is quite close, Estonia's Defense Minister Hannu Pevkur said, according to reports. Pevkur said that Estonian authorities received photos confirming that the damage to the Baltic connector was mechanical and human-made. Heido Sosalu, a seismologist at the Estonian Geological Service, said, according to reports on Tuesday, that neither Estonian nor Finnish seismic stations registered anything resembling explosions during the period the Baltic connector registered a loss of pressure. The incident comes just over a year after the Nord Stream gas pipelines running between Germany and Russia in the Baltic Sea were damaged by explosions believed to be sabotage. The case remains unresolved. Meanwhile, Russia has failed in its bid to return to the United Nations top human rights body 18 months after it was suspended in the wake of its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. In a secret ballot of the General Assembly's 193 members, Bulgaria emerged with 160 votes and Albania 123, giving each country a 3-year term on the Human Rights Council beginning from January 1st. Russia was third with 83 votes. Luis Cherbonia, United Nations Director at Human Rights Watch, said United Nations member states sent a strong signal to Russia's leadership that a government responsible for countless war crimes and crimes against humanity doesn't belong there. Russia was removed from the Council in April 2022 in a diplomatic push led by the United States. The polls for the coming term had been viewed as a test of Moscow's diplomatic support amidst first Western-led criticism over its brutal assault on its neighbor. Albanian Ambassador Ferit Hoxha, speaking ahead of the vote, said the United Nations General Assembly faced an important choice to demonstrate that it is not ready to take an arsonist for a firefighter. The United Nations vote took place just days after a Russian missile attack on the Ukrainian village of Roza killed over 50 people. Russia can still boast that it got support from nearly half the UN's members today, noted Richard Gowan of the non-profit crisis group. This does offer some support to Russia's claim that its diplomatic isolation is gradually decreasing as many states are tiring of arguments over Ukraine. But he added Ukraine's friends are still the most powerful force in the General Assembly. A UN-mandated investigative body in March this year accused Russia of a wide range of war crimes in Ukraine, such as unlawful killings, torture, and the deportation of children. The International Criminal Court has also issued an arrest warrant for the Russian President Vladimir Putin and Russia's Children's Rights Commissioner Maria Lvova-Belova over the alleged illegal deportation of hundreds of Ukrainian children, a war crime. The Kremlin has rejected the accusations and court's jurisdiction. China was also among the winners of Tuesday's vote, even after more than 80 non-profit groups called on states to oppose Beijing's re-election given its records on human rights. Now, still on Israel and Gaza war, Israel has ramped up its offensive in Gaza following Hamas's weekend assault on soldiers who retook villages from the Islamist group's fighters launched the brutality that had been meted out to civilians. At least 1,200 people were killed in Israel and many more wounded in Hamas' October 7th onslaught when armed militants poured over the heavily fortified border into Israel, raiding homes, rampaging through farms and communities, and taking as many as 150 hostages back to Gaza. A kibbutz in southern Israel in Kfar Aza, the Israel Defense Forces ADF said, according to reports, that militants carried out a massacre in which women, children, toddlers and elderly were brutally butchered in an ISIS way of action. Less than 20 kilometers, 12 miles away, the farming community Beri was among the worst hit, with over 100 bodies recovered and eyewitnesses describing assailants going door to door, breaking into homes and executing civilians. In retaliation for the atrocities, Israeli jets have been pounding Gaza, the densely inhabited coastal strip that Hamas controls, with hundreds of airstrikes, reducing homes and neighborhoods to rubble, and a complete siege has trapped residents, with many cut off from food and electricity. On Wednesday, Hamas cautioned that its electricity generator will completely stop within hours, limiting the ability to provide basic services. The IDF has also boosted troops and tanks along the border as speculation of a possible Israeli ground invasion into Gaza grows. Yoav Gallant, Israel's defense minister, said he has released all restraints for the IDF in their fight against Hamas, saying the response will permanently change Gaza. That has deepened fears that Palestinian civilian casualties will continue to rise in the days ahead as Israel responds to the worst attack on its territory in decades. Airstrikes have killed at least 950 people in Gaza, including hundreds of children, women and entire families, according to the Palestinian Health Military. It said 5,000 had been wounded. Several of Israeli fighter jets hit over 70 targets in the Daraj Tufa area of Gaza on Wednesday, where the IDF claimed a large number of terror attacks against Israel are directed. The IDF also said it has struck Hamas naval aims in Gaza early on Wednesday, which it claimed were used to carry out attacks on the Israeli coastline. The Palestinian Ministry of Interior Affairs said residential areas in the eastern part of Jabalia and the Qizan el-Najjar region of Khan Yunis came under intense airstrikes, with attacks targeting civilians' homes and roads, resulting in direct injuries among citizens, the ministry said. Now in Africa, French troops exit Niger. Authorities in the capital Niamey said French soldiers have begun to withdraw their bases in Niger, with the first convoy of troops accompanied out of the country by Niger's military as it traveled in the direction of Chad. On Tuesday, pickup trucks and armored personnel carriers laden with French soldiers drove through the dusty outskirts of Niamey, marking a departure demanded by Niger's military rulers who seized power in July. In a statement read on state television, Niger's military called on citizens to cooperate with the troop movement, which it said will involve some of the 1,500 French soldiers leaving Niger by route to Chad, a journey of hundreds of kilometers through sometimes insecure territory. The military said the troops based in Olam have left their base today. These are the operations for the departure of the first ground convoy in the direction of Chad, escorted by our defense and security forces. In addition to the departure by land, 3 special flights have been registered at the airport in Niamey, 2 for the departure of 97 Special Forces elements and 1 dedicated to logistics. The extraction of French forces were swiftly demanded by Niger's new ruling generals after they took power on July 26, with French President Emmanuel Macron then confirming their departure at the end of September. About 1,000 French troops were stationed in Niamey, with another 400 deployed at 2 forward bases in the northwest, close to Mali and Burkina Faso, a hotbed of rebel activity. Niger's military rulers, which assured the withdrawal will take place in complete safety, said remaining French forces will continue to leave in the timetable agreed by both parties. On Tuesday, the United States also formally declared that Niger's democratically elected president was removed in a military coup, which results in officially suspending assistance to Niger. Though there are no plans to change the U.S. troop presence in the country, senior administration officials said. On elections in Liberia counting votes via 6th second term. Polling staff count up the ballots cast as representatives from different political parties observe and tally the votes after the closing of the polls in the Liberian general elections. On Tuesday, Liberians voted on whether to give football legend George Weah a second term as president, with peace among voters major concerns in a nation still damaged by back-to-back civil wars. Even before polling stations opened at 8 o'clock a.m., hundreds of people had assembled in the early morning sunshine waiting to vote in the capital, Monrovia. By mid-morning, as polling station queues remained long by mid-morning, President Weah cast his ballot in the Monrovian district of Paynesville. The major political parties have vowed that presidential and legislative elections in the West African country will pass off peacefully, but the killing of 3 people last month in clashes between their supporters has stoked fears of a return to violence. Fights also broke out Sunday as Weah held his final campaign rally, leaving several wounded. The election is the first to be held since the United Nations concluded its peacekeeping mission in Liberia in 2018. The mission was established after over 250,000 people died in 2 civil wars between 1989 and 2003. Weah, 57, entered politics after a career as an international footballer, which saw him become the first and only African to win football's most prestigious individual award, the Ballon d'Or, in 1995. On his election in 2017, he promised to create jobs and invest in education, but critics say he has failed to keep his pledges. As president, Weah has not set up a war crimes tribunal despite international and domestic demand. He is the favorite against 19 rivals for the presidency, but could face a second round runoff in early November unless a candidate secures an unlikely absolute majority in the first round. The European Union, the African Union, the West African Bloc, ECOWAS, and the United States have deployed observers in the region hit by a string of recent coups. Take a short break, and when we come back, I'll bring you more stories. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, stories from Nigeria say Senate acts on alleged oil theft by security and militias. Senate has ordered an investigation into suspected theft of crude oil by members of the nation's security forces and militia groups. Yesterday, this came up at plenary following a motion sponsored by Net Munir Konko Woko Delta North, who quoted records on how oil bunkering has hindered Nigeria's economy. Oil theft caused a revenue loss of 2.3 trillion naira in 2023, according to him. He alleged that some bad eggs within security agencies collaborate with corrupt persons in the oil industry to engage in illegal activity. Urging the Senate to investigate the matter, Woko added in 2022 it was reported that Nigeria suffered daily losses of approximately 437,000 barrels of crude oil, amounting to $23 million due to criminal activities. In March 2023, Nigeria incurred a substantial loss of 65.7 million barrels of crude oil, valued at $83 per barrel, translating to a staggering revenue loss of 2.3 trillion naira. Consequently, the Senate directed its committees on petroleum resources, host communities, and Niger Delta affairs to investigate the matter. The Senate President Godswill Akpabio, in his remarks, said oil theft had weighed negatively on production capacity. He asked the committees to report back in 6 weeks. Now, on off-season governorship elections in the country, INEC verifies 5.4 million voters for Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa polls. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has revealed that a total number of 5,409,438 registered voters will exercise their franchise in the forthcoming November 11th off-season governorship elections in the 3 states of Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo states. In a statement signed by National Commissioner and Chairman Information and Voter Education Committee, INEC, Sam Olumekun, also announced that it has cleared 16 political party candidates in Bayelsa, 17 in Imo, and all the 18 parties in Kogi states. Likewise, the Commission revealed that it will, this weekend, Saturday, October 14th, organize mock accreditation of voters, noting that it will deploy both the bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS and INEC result viewing portal IREF during the exercise. On presentation of voters register, the Commission noted for the forthcoming elections, there are 1,056,862 registered voters in Bayelsa State, 2,419,922 in Imo State, and 1,932,654 in Kogi State, making a combined total of 5,409,438 registered voters for the 3 states. Given more updates on the elections concerning mock accreditation of voters, the Commission noted, in furtherance of our commitment to deepen the deployment of technology for voter accreditation and resource management, the Commission has finalized preparations for mock accreditation of voters in the 3 states to test run beavers and upload of polling unit results to the IREF portal. And finally on the news, Umahi says Tinubu supports concrete roads. Dave Umahi, Minister for Works, has reiterated the government's commitment to prohibition asphalt for road construction. He revealed this yesterday after meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa. Umahi also stressed the need for contractors to provide a 15-year guarantee for their projects. He alleged a gang up against this policy by quick fix contractors and ordered a shift towards concrete pavement. Umahi acknowledged President Tinubu's support and the approval of critical requests which he believes will revitalize Nigeria's road infrastructure. He also noted that his ministry will report erring civil servants to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Connected Offences Commission (ICPC) if they continue to sabotage the ministry's efforts. He further stated that the ministry has set up task forces in all the sites where these approvals were made by the president to make sure that within 3 months they will finish all that is required based on his approval. The minister also issued a warning to foreign contractors, stressing that it will not be business as usual and urged them to respect the laws of the country. He pointed out that the government inherited a massive 18,897-kilometer road network project valued at 14 trillion naira with a funding gap of 6 trillion naira as of May 29, 2023. Umahi expressed worries over the feasibility of asphalt in regions with high rainfall and underground water leading to road failures. He urged contractors to guarantee the durability of asphalt projects for at least 15 years and obtain written assurances from reputable insurance companies. The minister proposed concrete pavement as a more durable alternative, citing successful projects in Lagos and Apapa Oshodi Expressway. He underlined the economic benefits, including job creation and the potential for 10 cement factories to improve local production. Earlier, I said Afghanistan struck by another quake in days. Putin worried over civilian toll in Israel-Gaza war, alleged damage to Finland, Estonia gas telecom link. Russia's United Nations Human Rights Council bid fails and Israel intensifies Gaza offensive. Hamas attacks exposed. That's all on the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.